With Bill Belichick potentially on the outs, is the obvious heir apparent still Jerod Mayo? Maybe not. According to Greg Bedard, he wrote the following on Thursday night last week. If Belichick is gone, is Jerod Mayo definitely the successor? No, according to multiple sources. One source called Mayo a long shot. I can't rule out that it's just wishful thinking on the source's part. Multiple team sources indicated Mayo has rubbed at least some people the wrong way in the building since his extension, and when he perhaps received a strong indication he would be the successor. Ooh, let's roll. Presented by Town Fair Tire, and ask you, who would you want the head coach to be, next head coach to be this season, or next season, I should say. You can join the conversation. Vote at NBCSportsBoston.com/BST. Scan the QR code on the screen and scroll down to the polls. So Bedard, a long shot. I want to get to that. Why would Jerod Mayo, I'm not saying you're saying it, but what a source says, why would Mayo be a long shot when Robert Kraft apparently has a lot of love for this guy?
Well, I think that, from talking to multiple sources, I think that the feeling is that it's soon for Mayo, that they didn't expect this when they brought him back and maybe talked about him being the heir apparent. It was a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, that sort of thing. But to go 3-11 and all of a sudden put Jerod Mayo in that role, I think it's giving some people pause. And I think we'll have to see. Now, one thing I do want to say about this story that I don't think people quite comprehend, this is a different story as far as Bill Belichick leaving and who's next than we've really seen around here in these parts, in a lot of parts. I mean, because you're talking about Bill Belichick was an institution and how many different people he employed, whether it was front office and coaches and all these guys. There are so many different competing agendas going on behind the scenes, and there is friction behind the scenes, not just in general with what's going on. So, yeah, and trust me, I am aware of it. I've covered Nick Saban's exit. I've covered Brett Favre's divorce from the Packers. These stories, you have to be very careful on who you're talking to and vetting everybody, because everybody's looking out for themselves. Because if it's not Jerod Mayo, if they go outside the family, if they do a complete reset, that changes a lot of things in Foxborough, changes a lot of jobs.
Well, Felger, if Jerod Mayo is rubbing people the wrong way, maybe he's outside the family right now because the sniping has already started and he hasn't taken over. How do you see this story playing out?
Well, who's he rubbing the wrong way? Other guys that want the job, that are competing with him? As Greg said, it's office politics, man, run rampant. So, that is who he could be running or rubbing the wrong way. But to me, my issue is that it was a mistake for Kraft to promise Mayo the job or to give him strong indication that he was next or to make it up in his mind that Mayo was next. Hold your water on that. I don't know why, obviously Jerod Mayo is a qualified, promising coach. He'll be a coach in this league someday. And, but why commit to one guy like that with so long to go until you'll have to make a decision? I think that's sort of the thing. I think Kraft had it in his mind it was a 2-year deal, that Mayo would not be getting the job after a year. Kraft extended Bill for a year. When you looked at the math for the Shula record, it was 2 years away. And I think that was Kraft's planning. That's even been reported here in the last week or so, that it was a 2-year deal, 2-year window for Belichick, and then Mayo would take over. Well, now it's a year. Now, Mayo's still Mayo. I mean, he's not going to be that much more qualified in 2 years than 1 year. But Kraft never thought it would be this bad and that he would need these many changes. And now he's sort of stuck with the guy that he's promised a job to. And Kraft's a good person. He's not going to want to go back on his word that badly. And so I think he's kind of committed to Mayo. And I think he just went too early for some reason.
Well, but to answer the question, why would Kraft commit to him so early? Because he had to. He didn't want to leave. He didn't want to lose the employee. Mayo had interviews at the time with Carolina, talking about going somewhere else as a defensive coordinator. And I think Kraft got him back here by promising, hey, if you stay with us, we got something for you. And no need to go to Carolina. Why don't you stay right here? And the other thing is, some of these jobs, I don't know if you guys agree, some of these jobs, you're not ready even when owners say you're ready. You're not ready until you do the job. You don't know what the pitfalls are until you go through it. So Jerod Mayo a year early, if he's got it in him, maybe that accelerates the process and it speeds him up a little bit and he figures it out. It's a little bit of on-the-job training. It's not perfect. But if you think the guy has the goods to be a head coach, all right, you start him at 24 instead of 25.
Here's the thing, Michael, and as far as the rubbing people the wrong way, look, Bill rubs people the wrong way, and I don't know how many people it is. I don't know if it's important people. I don't know. Sort of the genesis of that. I know this is something that I've heard going back to training camp from the power dynamics behind the scenes. But what I did want to point out was, look at the Crafts have hired 2 coaches in their ownership. Both of them are going to the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Both of them have a couple of things in common. Both were very strong defensive coordinator for multiple teams. They also had head coaching experience. And now they're just going to elevate Jerod Mayo, who doesn't even call the plays on the Patriots defense, to head coach. There are some people that don't believe that that's going to be the case at the end of the day.
You're going down that road. Here's more from you, Greg Bedard, on Thursday. You write, if you're drawing a line from the Crafts pass hiring to their next one, Mike Vrabel, will be the ideal candidate. And yet another league source told me this week of Vrabel that I don't think he's happy in Tennessee. So Mike Vrabel, Bill O'Brien, Jerod Mayo as D coordinator sounds ideal to me if I'm the Crafts, and you can sell that in New England. Big time. I don't love it, Greg. I'll get back to why you do love it. But, Felger, you like that? Mike Vrabel as head coach, Jerod Mayo as D coordinator, Billy O'Brien back as OC?
No. I want an offensive guy leading the team. Now, I think, I'd give Vrabel maybe a slight edge over Mayo because he has experience, but not all of it's good. So, I mean, I don't know.
It's pretty good.
If you're going with, I'm sorry?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So, like I said, maybe a slight edge, Vrabel over Mayo, but it still doesn't satisfy what I want, which is an offensive guy with a new system, a more modern NFL system, a quarterback whisperer, that guy. That's what I want. Vrabel doesn't satisfy that. Mayo doesn't satisfy that. And a lot of this, I should just point out, is, again, this thing we talked about with Kraft and his brand. If the plan was Belichick 2 years, set the record, then you go to Mayo. At the end of those 2 years with Belichick, providing he sets the record, they're in decent shape. Okay, he would have needed a 9-win season and a 10-win season or something like that, right? So again, it's not gangbusters, but it's not off the rails. And he sets a record, and maybe there's a little, good feeling behind the record, and you can go from Belichick to Mayo, and everyone feels good about it. What has really changed? Mayo's qualifications haven't changed. What's changed is the climate and the temperature of the fans. And Mayo is a hard sell for the fans, I think. And I think that's what's influencing Kraft.
Yeah.
Yes.